This is the Final Word Daily, the West Indies Australia Daily, brought to you by Maurice Blackburn, number one plaintiff law firm in Australia. Geoff Lemon, Bharat Sundaresan. We're in Kingston, Jamaica. It is hot. It is humid. It has been a hot, hard, humid day at Sabina Park, a day and a night, because that is the style of test that we are playing. Bharat, could you please tell me about the day in 30 seconds?
I certainly can. So it was going nowhere for a while, and then Mikhail Louis played one of the worst shots in the history of Test cricket, and West Indies collapsed from there. They gave Australia a lead of 82. The reason I said all of that quickly is because I want to talk about what happened next. The lights came on, Sabina Park came alive, and it probably felt like what it must have been like to an extent when the West Indies were running roughshod over all opposition on home soil. The fast bowlers were breathing fire. Alzari Joseph, fire and brimstone. He was running in, charging in, bouncers, chin music. They were snapping their fingers. They were waving their flags. They were yelling out instructions and yelling back if the instructions weren't heard. And Australia were reduced to 6 for 69 and then 6 for 99 by stumps. They're still well ahead, 181 runs in the lead. But at least for 15 or maybe hour and a half, it felt like the West Indies were forward, and my heart was, I felt so warm in my heart.
They say his heart grew 3 sizes that day, however many it was. Now, I will say I shared this. It was like this last night as well. We spoke about how it's, similarly crazy, hectic evening session, Australian wickets falling, the crowd up and about. And I loved it. I loved that it was happening. I mean, imagine Malcolm Marshall coming in with a pink ball at night time. Good Lord.
No.
But through all of that, I still had this other feeling, which is it doesn't matter because Australia are already more than 150 ahead. And these other guys, their batting is so pathetic, is such a non-event that I can't even get excited about, because 181 is too many. Australia could declare overnight it would be too many. It just feels like that now.
Oh, it does. I mean, it's a team, we spoke about it last week in Grenada, but it's a team that there are almost 3 teams playing this test series, let's put it that way. There's Australia, there's the West Indian bowling attack, and then the West Indian batting lineup, who don't, at least in the first innings last week in Grenada, they batted for 78 overs. And again, it was the bowlers who did it for them.
I would almost say that there are 2 teams, and one is all of the bowlers and one is all of the batting.
That is also not too fair, not too far from the truth, because the batting has not been easy in this series, and I'm sure you'll have some stats on that.
I don't know if it's not been easy, but it's not been good. It's been dreadful.
It has been dreadful. And it's the sort of epidemic we've seen in Test cricket for a while around the world. The moment the ball does this or that.
Those are hand motions for people. This is remembering this is a podcast primarily.
Yeah. I just see a camera and I get into camera mode. So it swing, seams, or spin. That's what I like. Spin, seam, and swing.
Right.
But even till 5-6 years ago, that was when you would have to grind it out and see through the period and see off bowlers. Now it just feels like your only option is to charge at bowlers or try to score as quickly as you can, because you have not just one ball with your name on it. It feels like you walk out with, like in tennis, they do balls with your names on it already in your pocket. So it's predestined that you're going to get out anytime soon. So I think that's why we're seeing so many collapses and more collapses all around the world, on turning pitches, on seaming pitches, and here in swinging conditions with this Duke's ball. And that's why we've not seen many big scores or any big score. 75 Brandon King is the highest individual score so far in the series. Maybe Cam Green will go past him tomorrow. But yeah.
It is currently, I can give you a stat, the second lowest high score in a series ever of 3 tests or more.
Oh, right. Oh, so what's the highest?
As in the lowest.
What's the lowest? Yeah.
The lowest is 70, I think, Bobby Abel back in 1882.
Wow, that puts it into context. And I think also because...
Might have been 1888, one of them.
One of them, yeah. But because we're doing simultaneous dailies as well, I mean, you're doing it anyway, you're talking on one end about runs in England. The third test has been slightly different towards the end. Over here, it's just been wickets, top order issues, and the same stories we've spoken about. And today... 2 narratives that we spent the last 3 weeks talking about. One is the haplessness of West Indies' batting. It was really bad. And let's start with that.
I didn't even I didn't even describe any of the dismissals, I think, in the match report, because the entire innings was such a non-event. So they started 1 down, and there was nothing hugely dramatic that happened. There was some good bowling that wasn't like absolutely ruthless, terrible bowling, but they just got picked off one at a time, and they'd all last a little while. You know, it wasn't sort of come out and get done first ball. There'd be a little partnership, but no runs would be scored really. They went at about 2 and over. They weren't scoring. All of this calypso cricket stuff, all this we're smashing them in the net stuff, all bullshit. Roston Chase had a strike rate of 25, and he was the one who was saying we're going to play calypso cricket now. I think the memo wasn't quite there, and they were trying to survive and trying to do the grinding thing that you were talking about, but it just felt like inevitability, like eventually, okay, you've got out this way, and it almost didn't matter. The wickets were shared around, all the seamers got some, Boland got 3, that was the most, Webster got 1, everyone else got 1 or 2. There was a run out. The run out was the only dismissal I actually mentioned, just because the throw was interesting enough from Constas to land right in Boland's hands on the full from the boundary next to the bails to run out Justin Graves, the grave digger, who, you know, had batted okay, made 18, I think. But I don't know if you have anything more to say. It felt like to me like it wasn't even worth talking about.
The only thing worth talking about, it should not be worth talking about, was that Mikael Louis shot. Because we've speak of brain fades that happen in Test cricket, and it happens on and off. Shannon Gabriel, but it was right up there. Mikael Louis shot today was right up there with Shannon Gabriel. Why did he do that? Because he was, and it was
lost.
It came from nowhere. He was just defending. John Campbell had just got out. After playing nicely, I thought he found a way, was kind of skipping at the Australian fast bowlers and found a way of making 30, 40 runs. Then he shouldered arms to a ball from bowl and he's got out. And Mikael Louis was just defending, and we were just talking on radio about, it's pretty simplistic technique, isn't it? Like, it doesn't look too fussed by anything. And then the shot came from nowhere. It was a straight ball from Hazelwood. And he completed the shot before the ball had even got to him. It was the wildest hoik you'll see from an opener who was batting at number 5 because he was injured yesterday. That's a story for another day. And then the Alzari Joseph shot. But at least with the bowlers, Alzari has done so much with the ball and with the bat in the previous innings. He was like, you know what, I'm not going to keep bailing you out. And it was just, okay, Steve Smith, you're at mid-off. You're not taking a catch at mid-off, I think. Here you go, take a catch. And that was pretty much
the chip, and then the leave, the Boland one that you mentioned, the ball jagging in, shouldering arms, hitting the pads, and it was so out. It was so out. But I don't know. Well, which brings me back to my point of impact outside the line, Bharat. Why should that be out, but then not out if you played a shot at it?
We're not doing this again.
I'm just floating that.
No, but that is because he wasn't playing a shot. So.
I know. That's why it's in the law that he's given out, because he wasn't playing a shot. Right. But why should it be not out if he did play a shot and missed it and the same ball was going to hit the same stumps?
We'll do an entire episode on this someday, but it's too late at night. We're really tired. My rum punch is waiting, but we'll leave it at that.
But let's go back to the other bit. This should probably be Hall of Fame. Really, it's just how our colleagues today kind of had their heads on the desk, because every day of the series, day 1, they've had to write the Constas and Khawaja haven't made any runs story. And then by the end of day 2, they've had to write it again because they've both been out by the end of day 2 in every test so far, twice.
Yeah, I mean, you leave out Khawaja's 47 in the first innings.
Where he got dropped twice on nothing on the way.
He did, but I'm saying that's the only time where one of the openers have lasted till I think that was the 4th wicket to fall, if I'm not mistaken, in the first innings. Otherwise, they have been in the first 2-3 wickets that have fallen. And you're right. I mean, Constas, it didn't like. Look,
he just wasn't there. That shot, was he?
There today. He
went out and batted like he knew it was over.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. Like last week, we spoke about how shattered he looked, how defeated he looked, and how emotional he looked, like a 19-year-old who'd had a bad day. Was the way I described it as he walked off. Today, he just looked up at the screen as he was walking off, head down, and went away. And I didn't mention this yesterday because I was hoping it would make runs and the story would make sense. But yesterday, before the start of play, he finished his net. He was walking past me, and as his hair guru that I am, he came and said hello, and I just gave him a proper Ravi Shastri rev up, because I just felt bad for him. I said, "This is the day. Go, fucking do it. Go for it. This is your test match. Go, sugar." And he's like, "Yes, I feel it. I've seen the pitch. I feel up for it. I think this is the test." And I was like, "Good. I like the fact that he's feeling that way." Then he made 17 of 53, scratched around, was dropped once or twice once. Then he got out. So he didn't make much yesterday. Today, he didn't have that same energy. He didn't see even, he did the whole running down to the pitch like he always does with Khawaja at the back. But there was this inevitability that if he didn't get out then, that the dismissal was coming in. Once again, similar kind of dismissal away from his body. This time it wasn't the inside edge, it was the outside edge caught. And even the celebrations in the West Indian camp wasn't, oh yeah, we got up, man. It was like, well, here he goes again.
That was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it felt. And then Khawaja gets bowled off the inside edge, lavish drive. Smith gets bowled off the inside edge rather differently, though, because he got worked by Alzarri Joseph. That was fierce. The ball was jumping at him. He was trying to get out of the way. It wasn't Archer at Lords, but it was reminiscent in a couple of ways. And Smith trying to figure out how to play the ball and then swishing at the ball, sort of angry cattail stuff, and missing it, and it was flying around. And then eventually, when he gets bowled, it's not trying a big drive; he's just poking. It was a very strange shot. He's just standing still and just kind of holds the bat well away from the line of his body, and inside edges it back onto the stumps. It was peculiar.
It was a setup. It was the 4 bouncers that he'd faced already in the over. And after that 4th ball, the one that he tried to play that shot off and it went off, Roston Chase ran down from gully and had a word with Alzarri Joseph, because at this point the ball is doing a lot. The pitch had quickened up. That's why the short balls felt even more potent. Alzarri Joseph was bending his back. And the next ball he bowls is slightly fuller outside off stump. And this one, probably Smith said, okay, he's bowled 4 bouncers, 1 slightly full, so he's got 1 bouncer left, because there had only been 1 bouncer for the over. And you could see his weight was completely back, and that's why he plays that weird poke at it and inside edges it onto his stumps. And it's full credit to Alzarri Joseph. I don't know what Roston Chase said, but credit to Alzarri Joseph. And he did something similar to Bo Webster a little while later. He bowled him, and this is in the next spell he bowled him a few bouncers. In fact, the delivery before the one he knocked out Bo Webster was signaled wild because it was a high bouncer. And you could see Webster was still, again, weight on the back foot. The front foot went nowhere, just held his bat there, and the ball just snaked past his outside edge, hit the top of off. No, it was... So far, we've said a lot about Shamar Joseph and Jayden Seales, and they are 2 future superstars of this West Indies team if they can keep them together. But Alzarri Joseph, was touted to be a superstar when he made his debut, I think in 19 or 20 in 2016. At times, he shows you glimpses of why he's a special bowler, and tonight was one of them.
Yeah, he hasn't really done that this series. He's had a couple of moments, but this was it, where he was box office, and either side of bowling Webster. So it's 3 for 20-ish, and then they get to 50, and then Travis Head edges one into the cordon, Alex Carey edges one on naught, charging, I guess you can chalk that down to, he came out and played aggressively yesterday, and we praised that sort of willingness to attack early, and it didn't work today. And in the middle of those wickets, Webster gets out. So it's 6 for 69. Yeah.
And not to forget Alex Carey, the painful blow that he copped to his cheek.
Second ball?
First ball. And so Webster gets out. Next ball, Carey walks in, and that bouncer just kept following him. So he just kind of locked himself in that position. Podcast. He kind of backed where he does. It was on leg stump, and the ball kept following him, and it was almost like a slap to his right cheek. And pieces of his helmet came flying off.
Glove slap.
Yeah, it did feel like a glove slap. And then the helmet had to be changed, the concussion test. And he didn't say much. A couple of times, a couple of West Indian fielders just ran past him and he said, "I'm okay, mate." You could see him say that. But he wasn't saying much even during the concussion test. So clearly it had an impact on him. And then he charged at it. And this time it was slightly wild as well, unlike in the first inning. Gets the edge. Brandon King takes a really sharp catch at first slip. And at this point, you almost feel like, could West Indies drag themselves back into it? Because the lead was only 151. I say only 151 because it felt like the innings could be closed out soon. And Pat Cummins then came and played a crucial hand. But Cam Green, when it mattered most, has really played. It was a number 3 kind of innings that he played.
Yeah. So he's 46, not at stumps. I mean, he played the bowling well. His running was awful. He should have been run out or run out his partner 3 different times. And I mean, I'm not talking about like, that single was a bit sharp. I'm talking about full on mid-pitch mix-up, sent back. No way you're going to get there. Somehow West Indies screwed up all 3. Yeah. the throw. At one point, the throw went to the wrong end. At one point, it was a wild throw that missed rather than waiting for the keeper to come up to the stumps. And there was another one in there as well. And the turning circle on Cam Green, the biggest turning circle I've ever seen, trying to sort of get the Mack truck around to go back the other way. So, there should have been 3 wickets. Well, of course, if the first one happens, the subsequent ones don't. But there were 3 different opportunities that were squandered. But he, batting-wise, was in control and got to stumps. And Cummins played the opposite innings to the one he did yesterday, where he moosed everything he could yesterday. Today he was 5 off 25 balls, faced more balls than anyone except for Green already. So that gives you a sense of how the innings has gone. So they're 6 down. They'll resume with Cummins and Green. They'll try to get somewhere past 200, and probably anything past 200 is likely to be too much for West Indies to chase. But who knows? Who knows if maybe John Campbell or Mikhail Louis or one of these players will do something, will have a moment. Maybe they'll
watch this and say, hey, these 2 guys have really gone after us. Yeah. Maybe we'll do it for them. And like Craig Bradford, called out Rodney Hogg after they won at the Gabba. They'll call out Geoff Lemon and Bharat Sundaresan, and he'll put both arms out rather than just one arm out.
Please, why not? Like, bring it on. I would love for that to happen. Maybe there will be a century in this series after all, because it's on the way to being a very, very rare 3-test or more series without 100 scored. I will talk about those stats if it happens, because that's what I spent a fair bit of my day looking up. Hall of Fame in a moment. Maurice Blackburn, a quick one for them. You may remember the ads in the 90s or early 2000s where they would emphasise the no win, no fee bit. That's still available on a lot of cases. They'll look at your case, they'll assess it, and in some cases they will offer that because they want people to be able to get represented in court and be looked after, even if they don't have a lot of money to be able to throw at expensive lawyers like sometimes people's opponents in court can do. So that's just one of the many things that they offer as a way to try to look after working people and get them involved. They're a firm with people's best interests at heart. That is what we believe, and we're proud to be associated with them. So look them up, Maurice Blackburn. They're in the show notes. They're on the internet. They're across Australia. You will find them. Hall of Fame after this. It's the final word. It's the daily. It's been a long day.
Daily. It is a tired daily.
A low energy Jeb Bush a bit today. It's sweaty everywhere. I've watched about 14 hours of Test cricket straight today.
Yeah, I know. You're doing the double whammy. Yeah.
I'm doing the double daily, so at least the England game will be over tomorrow, and this one will be too. I'm pretty sure it'll be very unlikely for it to be dragged into day 4. The Hall of Fame is where we pick our most final word moment of the day. The things that tickle our fancy, the things that sum up our attitude of enjoying the strangeness of life and of cricket. What reached out and nibbled gently at your elbow today, Bharat?
Well, Cameron Green, we just spoke about him, played really well. It was a true knock of character, and he's still out there, number 3. He drove really well, he defended well, swayed away from the short ball really well, did everything that what Australia has looked for from Cameron Green, wherever he bats, but now especially number 3. But the man doesn't know how to tie shoelaces. So yesterday when he was batting, so this is in the first innings, you'll remember a point where he flicked the ball towards short leg, and his shoe went flying off, and he almost tripped on his shoe, and he ran a single with just one shoe on, and then he had to come back and pick up his shoe. Yeah. So on that occasion, I saw he tied almost 5.5 knots, and you're like, okay, now he's learned how to do his shoelaces. Today, Geoff Lemon, he batted for 2 hours? Yeah, around 2 hours. He had to do his shoelaces 4 times. And now, because it's Cam Green, he has to go down a long way as well. Every time he has to do his shoelaces, he has to take his pad off, because he's now it's in his head. It's like a batter who just keeps getting out the same way. Now he's so unsure about his shoelaces. What he does is he takes his pad off and then does the shoelaces. But in 2 or 3 overs, or maybe 5 or 6 overs, the shoelaces are undone again. So maybe he'll have to take someone along with him. And it is contagious as well. Bo Webster walked out to bat. Maybe it's a tall person thing. And he had to do his shoelaces, even though he didn't hang around for too long.
Maybe it is a tall person thing. I do my shoelaces up a lot too. But maybe this is where Nathan Lyon can step in, because he's not busy this week. He's in the vest. He's got the drinks. Maybe he could spend some time off the field teaching Cam Green how to tie the shoes up. As a senior player, looking after the younger players in the team, here's the rabbit, comes out of the burrow, goes around the tree, and goes back down the hole, and then boop, up comes the bunny. That kind of approach.
Me to tie my shoelaces in there. You can do it again.
I'll teach you. You wear flip-flops all the time. There's no way.
That is true.
or a Velcro, maybe. Velcro does make things easier, but I'm not sure what it says about a person. All right, I'll teach you to tie your shoelaces in the rabbit. The rabbit method will happen. My Hall of Fame today was one of the staff who was working in the press box. So the press boxes here are a little less formal than they are elsewhere. So they tend to get just filled up with a bunch of random people who are just spectating. So by the end of the day, there are people jumping and hooting and hollering and all the rest of it. But one of the women who actually works there and has a purpose and is going around looking after things. She's watching the point where Travis Head edges the one to slip, and it's a low catch, and they look at the replay. Head's not too worried about the replay. He's wandering off, but slowly, and he's just checking the screen to make sure that some miracle isn't going to spare him. And she's leaning over the desks at the back, sledging him off the field the whole way. She's going, "Get off the field, Travis. Keep walking, Travis. Keep going, Travis. Get off the field, Travis." Oh, and she goes him all the way from the middle, all the way off as the replay comes up and the umpires say, "Yes, it's out." All the way down the tunnel, all the way up the stairs. She was magnificent.
And this sweet lady who insists also that we all eat our meals. So the meals, we got the same meal with a few additions twice today. So we were well fed today at Sabina Park. But no, they do get real passionate all around. And I think just to finish on that as well, the crowd was... I spoke about it in the intro. They were snapping their fingers. They were yelling out instructions. Because compared to Barbados and definitely in Grenada, it's a much older crowd. When you walk around, these are guys you can realize and women who've been doing this for a long time. I mentioned the couple yesterday who were both born in somewhere around 1948. So they've been watching Test cricket for 60 years at Sabina Park.
But they feel closer, I think, because the grandstand is one of those vertical ones. They're kind of hanging over the field more.
And I also did hear, I don't know whether someone said this to you, apparently on the grandstand to the left of where we sit in the media center, not too far from the mount stand, there was this one youngish Jamaican fan who was really getting stuck into Mitchell Starc, and apparently they even had an exchange. There were like expletives being thrown at between Starc and the fan. And we saw a bit of it in Barbados. They had this weird party stand or this performance area which is so close to the Australian dressing room that there was this one of these paid performers who was just laying it into the Australian cricketers every time they got out and went up the stairs. So it's a wild place, Test cricket in the Caribbean. And we saw a glimpse of how much fun it can be, and who knows, maybe it will be fun in the future as well if they can find some way of making some runs.
I'm so glad we came here. Like, a lot of people are down on Jamaica and even in other parts of the Caribbean, warning you off going there. It's been magnificent. It's been such an experience, even just the 2 days of watching the test. And I was very skeptical about the day-night thing. Why are they doing the nighttime test here? They could do it in Bridgetown, blah, blah. But it has worked. The atmosphere has been awesome in the night session, particularly sitting up on the roof of the Kingston Cricket Club and watching the sun go down. And it's unlike any other cricket experience I've had. So I'm glad to be able to have it and to share it with you, Bharat, and with everybody who's listening to the show. Or if you're watching it and watching us sit sweatily on a balcony, then hi to you as well. I think that's it. Thanks for listening. If you want to support what we're doing, patreon.com/thefinalword. Jump on board, get involved. Now, I had a conversation about Nerd Pledge tonight on the roof of the Kingston Cricket Club, having to explain to somebody how it worked because their friend knew how it worked and started talking about it. That's how you support the show. Get involved, be part of it. It's fun. Thanks to Maurice Blackburn. Thanks to Bharat for hosting with me. And we'll be back tomorrow for what will very, very likely be the last day. Bye.